Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. Today, the question of the century. What do we do with hands? Now, I think one of the most asked questions is actually, what do you do with hands? Now, many years ago, I saw an instructional video and it was actually hilarious. The photographer said, well, hands are the most difficult part to photograph of the body, so just don't include them. And in essence, he's right. It is the most difficult part of the body to photograph, but in my opinion, if you take it out of the shot, you also take away so much more, because look at me, I'm talking with my hands, right? I'm talking with my mouth, but I'm also using my hands. Hands are so important, but in most images, you can literally see if a photographer thinks about hands or they're just there. So in this video, I want to give you some very, very quick tips about posing hands, but most of all, I'm going to keep it very basic because, well, you could write a book about it, called The Book of Hands. But let's just start out. The first thing you have to realize is that your camera doesn't see depth. Your camera sees something that's closer and it just renders them bigger. And that's also to do with how you shoot it. So for example, a 24mm will shoot different from a 70mm lens. So let's demonstrate that. Claudia, can you extend your arm, please? Okay. So when I'm shooting her now, as you can see, her hand is huge. And that's not something that you want. But now let's go for 70. Now I'm going to go all the way back so you don't see me in the frame anymore. I'm going to shoot the picture. And believe it or not, the hand looks a little bit smaller, right? So the lens you use compresses. And this is something we all know, right? A wide-angle lens really extends that set. But when you use a longer lens, it compresses that set. So when you photograph hands, it's very wise to not use a wide angle and the hands all the way in front, unless, can you point towards the camera, please? And can you scream 1, 2, 3, go? Of course you want an effect like this, then it's really cool to do it. But most of the time you don't want it. So where do you place the hands? Well, one of the easiest tricks is to remember that the camera doesn't see depth, right? It only sees bigger what's in front and smaller what's behind. So when we let our model pose our hands, it's very smart to let her pose her hands besides her face. Like for example, like this. And at that point, you already have your hand a little bit behind the face. In the picture, you don't really see it, but it can make a huge difference, especially when somebody has a bigger hands. Now, there's another trick, and that's actually when she holds her hand against the face. Now, when we do it normally, we press, right? You don't want that in the image. So tell your model to let her hand just float, just very, very gently. It looks a little bit weird when I'm doing this now, but you should just feel the hairs on your cheek, and that's about it. So don't press, but just very slightly. There we go. Awesome. Now, the other thing, and you already see it here, in the previous image, I really liked it because I was shooting the side of her hand. Now, in this image, as you can see here, she's tilting her hand, and that looks really bad. So tilt it again from the side. There we go. That's awesome. That's much better. See the difference? Now it looks way more feminine. Now it looks way better. And we can use this trick all the time. So move the hand a little bit to the side and the side of the hand. So not the front, but the side. So to the back and the side. But there's more. Some poses that you really don't want. Like in the Netherlands, we call it het bokkenpootje. And it's actually something like this. Yeah, that doesn't really look natural, right? Or how about this? Can you hold your shoulder like this? Now, this is not really a pose that you would normally do. It looks very, very weird, right? So when you do something like that, can you touch your other shoulder? Look at that. Now that looks way better. And this also looks way more natural. There's only one problem. I don't see the second hand. And in my opinion, a model should be complete. So I want to show both hands. So can you do the same pose again? Like here. Very nice. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And I'm also getting that second hand in. Now the second hand is all the way on the bottom, but it catches a lot of that red light. So I'm going to ask my model to just tilt that hand a little bit. So can you tilt it that way and just hold it against your elbow. There we go. That's perfect. Yes. So I'm taking it away from that red light and just hiding it underneath her elbow. Is it perfect? Not yet. Can you extend your fingers just a little bit over your elbow? And your thumb? I want to see the thumb. Yes, there we go. And just relax. A little. Yes, that's nice. And there we go. Now, in all honesty, hands are difficult. Hands are a total disaster, but they can really enhance your shot. And if you don't include them in the shot, you don't get that communication. Like, for example, can you do some really funky stuff with your hands? There we go. And you see she's making them small already. And look at those lines. I really love that. There we go. Now do a few with your hands like that. There we go. You see, this looks horrible. This is terrible because she's breaking all the rules which I told her not to do. Okay, now go back to the side lights. Oh, sorry, the sides of the hand. Very nice. And now against your face again. There we go. That's really nice. Let's do some close-ups. So, is this perfect? No, of course not. We're doing a very quick tutorial video. But for you guys, don't be afraid of hands. Include them in your shots, but make sure you make them as small as possible. So place them in the back of the head and don't use wide angles, but compress that set. And if you use wide angles, use that effect to your benefit. For example, with the screaming shots. We're going to take some more shots and then we're going to close this episode off. So let's go from a lower angle, create something a little bit more interesting. Now I'm using the angles of the backdrop, of course, to create a little bit of tension in the shot, shooting from a lower angle. But as long as he keeps those hands from the side, you get some really, really nice and funky shots. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick tip. And again, hands can be difficult. What we're showing here are just very simple tips. This is not great professional quality photographs. Just some tips for you guys to handle hands. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you run into any problems, like for example, how to shoot a head, just ask them in the comments and I will make a video about it. Although, shooting a head, that should be pretty simple. Even Chewie knows how to do it. See you again next time. Bye guys.